If you hadn't noticed, my latest video essay entitled Manga is Not Comics has gotten a lot of attention over the past few days. It currently just reached over 2,500 views and has over 50 comments, which, for a channel that doesn't even have 400 subscribers yet, I consider to be fairly impressive. It's my second highest viewed video on the channel as of right now, and I want to thank everyone who's watched it, liked it, commented, or engaged with it with an open mind. This was a topic I was hesitant to cover or share my opinion on, and I knew I'd be kicking the hornet's nest in doing so, but didn't realize just how defensive, angry, hateful, and accusatory some people would become. I wanted to make this follow-up video to provide clarification about my stance on this topic and vocalize some concerns I have about being a public independent creator, as well as my concerns about the indie and mainstream comic book scene and community. This is unlike anything I've done on this channel prior, so forgive me if it's not up to the standards I've set with my previous content. There's no flashy images or visual aid to this one. Writing, recording, and video editing can take hours upon hours, and I wanted to keep this as direct as possible. This is going to be me being far more transparent than I've been in the past, and there might be a few times I go off script, but I hope you'll stick with me. I hope you'll give me the benefit of the doubt to listen to what I have to say. So brew up some coffee or tea and pull up a chair. Being an independent comic book creator on social media is not as straightforward and easygoing as you'd think. There are cliques and clubs. There are communities and communities within those communities. There's a lot of drama. I don't think this is a symptom of indie comics as much as it's a symptom of just being on the internet. It's just how the game is played, and there are many times I feel like I have to bob and weave, dodge, cut corners, remain silent, hide away, or plainly ignore and disengage from conversations circling around the comic scene because an opinion on a subject, pick one, however inconsequential, has the potential to become an indictment to be used against you. Everyone's a threat and everyone feels threatened. I'm of the opinion that words matter, and social media has desensitized us to their power. I'm a writer, I should know. I keep to myself for a lot of the reasons I mentioned above because trust doesn't come naturally to me, and before you know it, this person doesn't like that person, and this person had a beef with that person, and on it goes while the art of making comics becomes the lowest priority on the totem pole. I love people. I love creators. I love learning about people and other creators. But I also want to know about your comic, and I shouldn't have to find out about it through drama farming or a feud on social media. At the same time, differences of opinion are what makes us human, and it's what makes having conversations interesting to be a part of. Your taste in comics shouldn't offend me, and mine shouldn't offend you. It's odd to me how personally some people take offense at other viewpoints that disagree with their own. These ideas or ideologies don't have feelings. They won't love you back. Comics won't love you back either. But other people will. Yeah, those same people you're berating. And they're the most important variable to consider, as long as they're not trying to gaslight, manipulate, or intentionally harm you with words or actions. People will be people. What can you do but throw up your hands and move on in that case, I suppose? There's not enough time in the day to figure the world out, including the people who live in it. I'm very much in my comfort zone as the man behind the curtain, the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, if you will. I don't want you to see me. I want you to see my work. I don't want you to hear my voice or see my face. I want you to see my characters' faces and hear what they have to say. Ask anyone, and the balance act between being a creative person and a public one is like walking on a high wire that doubles as a tripwire. Not only do you have to pay attention to your footing, but you also can't apply too much pressure on the wire itself or else, boom, down you go, totally consumed with your comic or getting lost in the comment section of a hot take about comics or a creator. Gossip has become a celebrated public hobby for some, there's no doubt about that. Selling yourself over selling your comic are inseparably intertwined, and one can usually benefit the other, but it's much more expedient and convenient to get yourself in front of potential customers and other creators than to get them to spend money on your work they have no idea if they'll like. Buying comics costs money, but building notoriety or relationships doesn't 99% of the time. Being rude or kind doesn't either. It may even gain you some cash. Up to you. The past year and a half, I've attempted to poke my head out of the foxhole here and there, making it a point to network with other creators and converse with comic book fans of all shapes and stripes more than ever before. That was a big reason for creating this YouTube channel in the first place, and more recently putting together those topical video essays this past month. With a handful of books under my belt, I'd shown the community that I was here to stay and that they could trust me as a creator to fulfill crowdfunding campaigns and provide quality books. It's led to one positive experience after another, and I'm proud to be here. It's also given me insight on what doesn't work in this space from observing others and taking notes of strategies I'd prefer not to implement. I'm allowed the luxury, and so are you. No one should be bullied, coerced, or made to feel guilty for only wanting to talk about comics. That's why I'm here. That's how you know me and how I want to be known and what I want to be known for. It's that simple. If you haven't watched Rob Guillory's video entitled The Dark Side of Comics Twitter, Why I Quit and You Should Too, I highly recommend that you do. He covers a lot of my same feelings on this subject. Check for a link to that video in the description below. I'm not some soldier in your perceived culture war. I'm not a mouthpiece for your ideology. I'm not a nameless face who can be boxed into your arbitrary categories or tribes. I'm a writer, an artist, a creator who wants to tell stories and make a living doing so. The only bad thing I want you to say about me is that I don't come out with enough books each year. Don't worry, I'm working on that. I'm going to be honest here. A majority of the reactions I received on social media for my Manga is Not Comics video gravely depressed me this past weekend. The YouTube comments were fairly tame and mostly positive, but not so much on one social media platform in particular. Yes, I'm well aware that the title of the video is inherently provocative, but it was not clickbait. I stand by my essay, and if you watch it, you'll understand that the intent of the video was not to provoke, but to create an open forum for discussion. YouTube is a very competitive space, and this isn't the first time I've used a title of this nature. My first video essay, Zoe Thorogood Doesn't Make Sense, could have easily been misinterpreted as a hit piece, but on the contrary, it was the exact opposite. You wouldn't know that if you didn't watch it though, as I'm trying to encourage engagement in the YouTube space. The Eisner Award-winning artist went so far as to share the video herself on Instagram and even left a comment on the video, catapulting it to almost 4,000 views at the time of this recording. Like that video, I wanted viewers to storm through the door, guns blazing, only to find their preconceptions were premature and their victim, meaning me, had surrendered before the first shot needed to be fired. I considered giving the video about manga and comics a less inflammatory title, but understanding how YouTube rewards more, shall we say, flavorful titles, I was under the impression that viewers would pass on a video with a more awkward, long-winded, or obvious title without giving it a second thought. Moreover, the title demonstrates the point I was trying to make in the video itself, and that is, comics is a flexible term encompassing all kinds of sequential art from varying cultures and including varying formats, and its flexibility and broadness can lead to confusing verdicts when it comes to measuring the health of the American comic book market, the range of taste from comic book fans, the ins and outs of American versus Japanese storytelling, and the cultural significance of both manga and comics in the world. They're housed within the same medium, but almost everything else about these two kinds of comics, from the art styles to the pacing of their stories, to their distribution methods, to their fan bases, to the kinds of genres either embraces and excels at, to the format of the books themselves, all the way down to the thickness and finish of the interior pages, is not the same. In this respect, manga is not comics, but it is sequential art. Their differences are a plus, not a minus. Alas, that realization was lost on those who saw the video making the rounds, but did not watch it. Instead, they assumed what my opinion was by the title alone, their first mistake, without watching the video, and proceeded to, quote, correct, unquote, my views with ridiculously offensive comments. One commenter stated that they'd rather take their own life than watch my video. One commenter had the most outrageous insinuation suggesting I made this video on account of political reasons. Some wouldn't watch it merely on principle because the title was such low-hanging fruit from their estimation. Another person recommended I read Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, a book I'm quite familiar with, having read it twice and even quoting it in the video that apparently was worth commenting on by the person but not watching. The post reached nearly 150 comments before I couldn't take it any longer. The conversation was not about my thesis in the video, but what they imagined my thesis to be to fit their own narrative. I wasn't defending what I had said, but what people thought I had said. This has only happened 1 or 2 times before in the 7 years I've been making comics, but clarifying the record of my words is a reoccurring battle I find extremely aggravating because people will believe what they want to believe no matter what you say, and even if you agree with them. People will assume the worst in you every single time. I had tried to meet an audience halfway with what I believed to be a complex, nuanced conversation starter and was shunned as an attention-seeking illiterate based on 4 1 to 2 syllable words that apparently shook the earth. I was discouraged beyond belief. I felt utterly dismantled and misunderstood. I deleted the post, recognizing that this discourse was fruitless. Everything I attempted to achieve backfired. A handful of people came to my defense, watching the video and reaching out to let me know that I should just ignore the haters. An article was even written about the video, and I've even been asked to come on another channel for a follow-up discussion at a later date, which is exactly the response I was looking for. But you can't unread some of the things I read, and I'm the type of person who doesn't function well under that amount of mass ill-informed scrutiny and defamation. Scrutiny and defamation on account of something I didn't even say or do, but what they thought I said, what they supposedly heard. What I experienced was nothing like what some other creators have had to put up with, but that was enough for me. I debated on whether I should delete the video and put this all behind me, but that would mean giving up, giving into a lie, and that's not what I do. That's not who I am. The tendency to go out of the way to step on others is rampant on social media, including within the indie and mainstream comic scene. We're so quick to judge, convinced we have all the information there is to know without doing any research. I swear some people just love to hear themselves talk, or in this case, type. I have no status. I have no sway or authority in these discussions. I just want to have the discussion. But I guess that can be asking too much because discussions like these were settled long ago. I ask myself more often than not, why do I even bother? There are 2 faces in the comics community. On one side, there's the insistence on lifting others up, assuming the best of intentions from your peers, growing together, learning from each other, celebrating each other's wins, and consoling each other's losses. On the other side, there's the insistence to tear others down, assume the worst of intentions from your peers or those viewed as lesser than, see everyone else as competitors, insult one another, and relish in the so-called competition's failures. I see both almost on a daily basis, and in the midst of these digital charades, the comics and the people are losing. We are losing. Comics is a small world. Why do we insist on making it smaller? How much longer can this go on before we're no longer selling comics but social media drivel? Ever since the loss of Ed Piskor, it's changed something within me. There's been a shift in how I view the toll online interactions can take on others, and it's something I'm constantly reminded of within these spaces I participate in. Is it really comics breaking people's hearts, or the people in and around comics doing all the damage? Some people want to watch the world burn. Others, like myself, want to plant gardens. I'm not a YouTuber, I'm a comic book writer. I'm not a personality, I'm a comic book writer. I'm not a critic, you get the point. Underneath it all, I'm a human with one goal. I know where I want to be and I know where I belong, and that's in the presence of professionals who take their job and their craft seriously. I'm aiming high and I'm dreaming big, and when I say big, I mean big too big. So, join me if this video speaks to you. I need more people like you around. I need to know you're out there. It's going to be fun to leave all this triviality behind someday, don't you think? Why not do it together, hand in hand, arm in arm? The smoke is suffocating out there. Hand me some roses, please.